Hey, welcome to another episode of E-Venture Prints here on YouTube. This series where I dive into some of the photos that I've taken over the years. I've been into photography mostly my whole life, way back into high school when I took a graphic arts class. When we and in my school actually had a dark room. So I learned how to develop photography versus just taking it into a store and having them do it for you. I moved on to even community college where I took a few of those few classes at community college and got even a little better with it. I don't know that I could do it right now, but if you gave me a week, I think I could do it again. That's something that I would love to have, had the finances for, is to have an actual darkroom. But I've been into photography for a long time, and I thought it would be fun to dive into some of the cooler photos I've taken throughout the years. I truly enjoy going through them, and something I always think about photos when I take them is that I that. And so that is something I enjoy. So I thought people, here we are, another episode of E-Venture Prints, and let's get to it. This photo this time, how we always do this is I look at the photo first and give the details, then I give a little context of where this was taken. I gotta be honest, this looks like it could be a a screensaver, you know? No, just to pat myself on the back. This was taken Sunday. Why didn't I do 22 where I drove around the country with some buddies trying to tell jokes in all 50 states. The other started with a trip I did to Montana to see my brother, Helena, Montana, in the summer of 2020. And so this is one of them. I'm a very early riser. And I remember July 4th, I spent at some hotel in the middle of South Dakota somewhere. And then I got up super early and started heading home on July 5th of 2020, and this was at 6:45 a.m. Eastbound on I-90, I believe. Yep, on I-90 in South Dakota. And I've only done a month and a half of these, but I know I've already had a few episodes where I talk about photos with roads in them. But I really like roads. I'm really drawn to line here is on the left a little bit. I pulled the car over onto the There's nobody in the no cars in the road, no animals really either, which is too bad, but a big blue sky as the sun is probably rising. I guess it's already been up a little bit. It's, well, 6:45, it depends on the situation, because this would have been facing east, due east. But anyway, the green grass in here, like I said, to me, this looks like, a screensaver like that one from a and so the road, just empty road, really cool. The clouds over the land. Just that there's nothing else in this shot is really cool to me. I really enjoy that aspect of it. I had stayed, like I said, in the middle of the night, or I'd stayed in July 4th, just in the middle of South Dakota at some hotel. Fired at that point from the trip, but there were fireworks that had gotten shot off. See them kind of from the hotel. I went to this, and nothing was at this point. Still, a lot of things weren't open super late or open at all, and so I went to this pizza place and got some pizza little later and watched the fireworks show, and there was actually ended up being a later in the night, which was even crazier. But I'll always remember this time when I went on this crazy road trip. Well, we were still in the midst of a big pandemic and, not gonna get into whatever people think of the pandemic necessarily, but whether I was happening, it was happening, and things weren't always open, and you go into places, and some people might be super crazy, like wearing the super into wearing a mask, might not, and you just never knew, which places you went into, it would be a bigger deal or a less bigger deal, and, but it was very fun, and this image came out of that. This is, I believe, the last image I'll share for a while from that 2020 trip to see my brother in Helena, Montana. I don't have much more else on it, so I don't wanna drag it anymore, but a long day. After this, I drove all the way home after, this, so that was, I got home, man, like 3, 4 in the morning, something crazy like that. But that said, hey, I've mentioned before, all these images are on. Oh, you know what I didn't do? Here's what I didn't do this time. I apologize. I did not do the context with the screenshot here. Here we go. So, I've mentioned this every episode we talked about this. Both dots are from drives I've did. Northern Dakota are from my comedy trip, and the ones in South Dakota are from my or, they're a little of both actually, I think, because I think I did now that I think about it. I think I drove North Dakota there, South Dakota back. So there you can see where the picture kinda was, a little bit in the middle of, South Dakota. The Minneapolis being the next state, which is right around there, right to the right of the screen. And so I think if you look at this, it wasn't actually due east because the road's, going almost a little south. It's almost like southeast. But then, there you go. And I'm just kinda there's Wall, South Dakota, which is very popular, right before this Tacoma and Chamberlain, South Dakota, which I'm not really for sure familiar with at all, actually, but necessarily, but Relance. This might have been even 6:45 if if I took this at 6:45, I don't remember where I stayed in my hotel because, I've been on the road already a little bit, I guess. I'm someone who just wakes up so early. So, I think I stayed here at, if you're looking in the screen, right up there to the left of Presho, that stayed, uh, and so and as I've said many times, if you wanna hear me talk about the comedy trip I mentioned, I do a podcast called eVentureCast. It's on Spotify, and here you go a little more onto East I-90 in South Dakota. It's on Spotify and iTunes, and I also do, this, eVenture Prince, which is on YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday. On my podcast, I have a whole plenty of free episodes. I've been doing more Patreon exclusive episodes versus free episodes, but I have a whole season about driving around America, doing comedy, living the last few summers, I've lived and worked on a tourist island called Mackinac Island in northern Michigan, which is famously known for not having cars, horses and bikes only, and I've gotten to so if you wanna join my Patreon page, I have hundreds, about 350 video and audio clips of talking about my time traveling around America doing comedy and also working and living on a massively popular tourist island. I have lots of videos with me working with the horses because I work with horses on a daily basis. Shout out to Chubbs, Holiday, Dix, Molly, Nate, Doug, Jessica. I don't think I'm missing any. Those are the ones I've worked with so far. And so if you like animals or just wondering what it's like to live on a tourist island like Mackinac Island, I have a bunch of videos about that, audio clips, extra podcast. That's at Patreon eVentureCast. All these photos I share on the eVenture Prints are not only for sale, but they're also on my eVentureCast Instagram at VentureCast. If you want to check that, I have episodes and I really enjoy that. Feel free to start commenting if you. I'd love to hear people's thoughts on the photos or to comment with their own photos. If and let me look at those. I love looking at photography and even other people's as well. It does not just have to be my own. I enjoy that. And so yeah, that ought to do it for this week's or this. I don't. I always want to say this week's episode, but I do week. For this episode of Eve, they're all green. You could watch this episode and then start at one. It wouldn't make a difference. So it really doesn't matter if like, oh, join me next week. So anyway, thank you so much for checking out eVenture Prints. Hope you're enjoying it. I'm having fun making them and going kind of back in time and looking at some of these photos I enjoyed taking back years ago, some of them. Okay, that's it. See ya.